Hello and welcome to Get a Grip on Rebates. I'm Juan Carlos Blacker. This is John Wilson, and we are brought to you by TCP, the craziest people in lighting. That's TCP. You can find them at tcpi.com. Go there, check out all their products, all their information on rebates, and see what works for you. John, good morning, good afternoon. I don't know where we're at in the world today, but hey. Great episode in the last episode. You brought up a topic uh, based on some fan mail that we've been getting. I love the fan mail. Send it in, guys. We love the fan mail. But you brought up a topic of trunk slammers. And, I think I know what trunk slammers are. But give the audience a little idea of what we're talking about when we say trunk slammers.
Man, I think everybody has an idea in their head when you hear trunk slammers. It's the word itself. It's so perfect because it describes, it describes something that's perfect. It's probably different in everybody's head. In fact, in the process of thinking about this just a little bit and responding to what some folks were sharing with us, I went online and I wasn't surprised at all to learn two things that are going to be really, I don't think they're going to surprise you either. Number one, this term spans across just about every single industry that where there are cars and people who work with their hands. Okay, so
Right.
um, it's a well-heeled pejorative, if you will, right? Like it's been around as long as measles, is what I'm trying to say. People have been using it for a long time, and it also is kind of like an early, maybe like a Gen 1 version of a you might be a redneck if sort of joke, right? I think our listeners, hopefully get that classic 90s cultural reference. But
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? It's like, go ahead.
definitely know what you're saying. Definitely has that pejorative, kind of negative connotation of a kind of a sleazy salesman who's got the product in the trunk, wants to sell it. Explain though a little bit how it works in the rebate world because it has a similar feel. Although I got some good friends who are quote trunk slammers, but explain how it works in the in the rebate
That's
world.
where I wanted to take it. This is where I wanted to take it, man, because I actually am becoming more aware in my mind. Dude, you and I are kind of like independent operators, right? We don't swim in the swim lane of guys who just sell lighting, and you know what I'm saying? Like we kind of swim across a couple of different lanes. It's what makes our jobs unique, and so we get to see a lot of different perspectives, right? And I think it makes you and
Absolutely.
I a little bit, we've experienced this. Like, there is one definition of trunk slammers that I think is the, like, we're going to call it the archetype. It's the cartoon character, um you know tools and equipment in the car. The IT department for the company is in the front seat passenger of the car. They drive around to get all their customers at a super low price, and then like service is at the bottom of their list. Signing up new people, driving around, and getting quick cash is at the top of their list. Okay, I mean, I think that's the stereotypical archetype boogeyman uh trunk slammer. Okay, but I I wouldn't bore people, our listeners, with the banal topic of that two-dimensional character. This became interesting to me when one of the people who wrote into the show kind of referenced, uh, the sleazy sales talk of our mutual friend, who was really just making a pitch and describing how he was going about getting a job. And it made me realize that people use this term in a lot of different ways. Okay, so you just said, I want to hear from you. You said, I know a couple people who are trunk slammers. Describe them to me.
Wow, yeah, you put me on the spot there. I don't want to get them in trouble, but no,
Don't
I
name
think of
any
it.
names. Don't name
No, of
names.
course not.
Keep
Of
it.
course not. Of course not. So the guys I know really really they're rebate experts, right? They're independent contractors or independent salespeople who actually understand utility programs very well and know how to take advantage of the programs, um, within the rules of the programs mostly, but take advantage of the programs to maximize discounts that they can offer to their customers. And so they're going, quote, door to door from one customer to the other, offering really great pricing on sometimes great product, sometimes not so great product, but either way, great pricing that becomes hard to resist for those customers. And then go back and get sell the product at that low price, and then go back to the utilities and get their rebates. So that's
And
the guys I know.
And in the process, they inevitably are getting some business, are taking a chunk of business from organizations that maybe follow a more conventional model, have a little more overhead, and maybe aren't
Absolutely,
as aggressive or creative with their
absolutely,
rebates. Yeah.
right, absolutely. And I think some of those larger companies that do it have responded by building groups that are specific to the rebates, are trying to understand to compete against those, quote, trunk slammers. I think one of the things we need to understand, and why you and I kind of cringe a little bit at the topic, is because these are good guys doing good work, and also on top of doing good work, and sometimes it's fishy. I'm not going to say that it's all perfect, but they're putting themselves at risk. A lot of the time, they're holding on to that discount until they get refunded. And if for some reason the utility runs out of funds, doesn't approve the project, doesn't approve the products, then they're out in the cold because they've already sold that product at the discounted price, and that can affect them. And so there's risk there. So these are people taking risks, doing things by the book for the most part, although some don't. And I think we're going to talk about that in our series here. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of permutations of these guys and gals. I
So
don't want to.
guys and gals, to be sure. And I mean, we've already, I love how we're setting the table here, because it's already becoming revealing. Okay. So, like, first of all, we got to be careful that we don't say, yeah, I mean, there's no absolutes here. And that's fair. Like, that's not harming anybody, right? Like, by and large, a lot of these folks are working hard. And then in every camp, across every class, you got people, a small portion, taking advantage and breaking the rules and all that stuff, right? So I love that we're already kind of like hashing that out and get there. And you mentioned, listeners, take note, this is going to be a series. We're going to dig into this. We're going to bring some people on,
Right.
talk about it, get some diverse, some different opinions. Here's when I realized I thought this would be worth talking about over a couple sessions. Okay. And I'm not going here yet. Okay. This was just a funny thought in my head. All right. I'm not saying that this is how I feel about this, but I had this thought in my head, and I was like, that's probably worth a podcast series right there. Okay. All right.
Absolutely, absolutely. So,
Listen,
guys, we are to the audience. Let me interrupt you there. But let them know we're going to try something new. We're going to actually do a 4, maybe even 5-part series here on Trunk Slammers, where we're going to kind of weave through a whole story, bring in a guest, maybe 2 guests. So be prepared. We're going to talk about this for a month or two as we kind of get through the idea. So write in, tell us what you think about Trunk Slammers. Maybe we'll throw it into part of the series. That's what you're thinking, right, John?
food for thought. This is what I want to hear about. All right. And I'm just laying this down. You throw the matches. I'm just creating the oil well. Okay. So
Love
I
it.
had this funny thought. Now listen, Juan Carlos and I are both in Portland, Oregon. We can't help that. And I know it's this crazy, I don't know what people think about Portland. People think it's like this crazy liberal progressive place. It kind of is, but it's also just a great place in America, like a lot of other places. It's just a place, all right? So don't discount what I'm saying because we're in Portland. But bear with me. We're in this socially aware moment where we're starting to be more aware of these words and stuff that we use, right? We're more conscious of, like, man, I used to use this phrase in the 90s and I didn't realize like nowadays I don't use that. Like grandma, you can't say gypsy anymore. And it's like stuff like that, right? You're explaining there's like a new dialogue that we're having as a country. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just talking about the fact that this is happening at large. Okay. And I had this idea when I was thinking about trunk slammers. I was like, dude, what if by the end of this 5-part series, trunk slammers is like, you really shouldn't use that phrase anymore. That's really just kind of a dog whistle for most, oftentimes people who are first or second generation or maybe new in the business, cutting their teeth, and they're actually mostly really great people, taking on a ton of personal risk. What if, I just had this funny thought where it was like, we all get the two-dimensional character trunk slammer, but what about if people are using it in a way and it's like, dude, you don't know the guy on the other side who's like, yeah, he took a deal from you, but what do you really mean when you're calling him that? Like, if you sat down to his face, would you call him something worse? Or would you have a conversation with him and be like, that guy's actually, we got a lot in common. I'd hire that dude if, it worked, like that sort of thing, right?
Right.
That's what I
Right.
want to explore. That's what I want to explore with trunk slammers. And for right now, I think it's still a good word that we can use.
Absolutely. So we'll call that an episode. First of a series. John, thanks for bringing it up and teeing it up, and thanks to our writers who kind of got this process started. John, tell us about our sponsor.
Man, our sponsor, if you don't know them, they are hands down, head, shoulders, knees, and toes, the craziest people in lighting. Who else? TCP. Check them out at tcpi.com. They got a bit of everything, and they know the rebate business.
Love it. Well, that's it. Thank you again for listening to Get a Grip on Rebates. I'm Juan Carlos Blacker. That's John Wilson with the Fun Mittens, and we'll see you soon.